सचिन लॉटी जी, इनके बारे में जो है मैं आप सबके साथ शेयर कर ही चुकी हूँ। इनसे बात करने के लिए मैं बहुत बहुत ज़्यादा एक्साइटेड हूँ और आप लोग भी एक्साइटेड ज़रूर रहिएगा। क्यों रहिएगा? क्योंकि 22 मैराथन्स 22 दिनों में, और एक ऐसे कॉज के लिए जो वो कहते हैं उनके दिल के बहुत ज़्यादा करीब है। वो कॉज क्या है, कैसे वो कर रहे हैं इसकी तैयारी, क्या करने वाले हैं आगे, ये सब हम उनके मुंह ज़बानी जानेंगे। एंड वेलकम बैक मिड डे शो विद रश्मि, ये कार्यक्रम आप सुन रहे हैं और इस समय बिना वक्त गवाए मैं जल्दी से बढ़ना चाहती हूँ हमारे स्पेशल गेस्ट, इनका नाम है सचिन लाठी जी। सो वेलकम सचिन जी, आपका बहुत बहुत स्वागत है माई रेडियो 580 AM पर। एंड लेट मी आस्क यू, डू यू अंडरस्टैंड हिंदी एट ऑल?
Yeah, I understand Hindi.
You understand Hindi? आप हिंदी में बात कर सकते हैं?
Yeah, you can speak to me in Hindi, but I can't speak that. It's not that
Okay, no worries. We're going to do this conversation bilingually, and that is a mix of Punjabi में आप fluent हैं, right?
Again, my Punjabi, I understand Punjabi perfectly. I just haven't spoken a lot in the last so many years.
That's
so
totally
my
fine.
Pronunciation but absolutely Punjabi, you can speak to me Hindi, whatever.
No
I'll
worries.
understand.
हम ये इंटरव्यू उसी लैंग्वेज में करेंगे जिसमें आप कंफर्टेबल है, एज लॉन्ग एज वो इटालियन या कोई ऐसी अजीब सी भाषा ना हो, अलग सी भाषा ना हो। अच्छा सचिन जी, सबसे पहले तो मैं आपको ऑलरेडी इंट्रोडक्शन जो है हमारे श्रोताओं को दे ही चुकी हूँ। ऑलरेडी इंट्रोड्यूस यू टू आवर ऑडियंस, 22 मैराथन्स इन 22 days, and wow, that is wow. So please let's start the interview by which cities are you, which areas are you going to cover, and I would also like to know how have you trained yourself for this?
So just to start off, the starting of the marathons, I'll start on August 5th. I'll be in Revelstoke, BC. That's where I start, and I'll be finishing in Victoria on the 27th of August. So each day I'll be running at least a marathon a day, which is 42.2 kilometers. And most of the cities from Revelstoke, they tend to be a little bit smaller until I get to the lower mainland of Vancouver. But I'll be going through Salmon Arm, Sicamous, Ashcroft, Pemberton, Whistler, Squamish, Nanaimo, Cobble Hill, and some other small towns, and finally in Victoria.
Mm-hmm. Okay. How have you trained yourself for this, Sachin? Because this sounds like incredible. 22 marathons in 22 days. How have you trained yourself?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a great question. So just to put it in perspective, it's a total of 1,000 kilometers in 22 days, but also the equivalent of 15,000 meters of elevation. So it's like going up Mount Everest twice. So that's the kind of elevation gain. Now, how I've been training? I've been training pretty much full time for an entire year. I've taken time away from work, and I have been just focused. Like, I've hired a coach. I've hired all these different people that know how to do these things because I'm relatively new to this. And yeah, I've had various different training programs, running a lot every week. You know, anywhere from 150, about 150 kilometers every single week that I run. And through that process, I've been building my body, so I think I'm ready to be able to do 22 marathons this week starting.
Wow, so it's starting this week, hey? What are the dates?
I start on the 5th of August, so I start on Saturday, and I finish on the 27th, I believe is a Sunday.
Right.
And so 22 days straight of running marathons. And the reason why I'm doing all this is really to raise awareness and money for veterans and first responders and emergency personnel with mental health issues. And I support a charity called the Honor House Society that helps these people. And so the reason why I even selected the number 22 of 22 marathons, it's a significant number, and I think it's also important for me to mention this for our community. In 2011, there was a study done in the United States that showed that 22 veterans a day commit suicide. So you know, because of their mental health issues. Now, that was many years ago, and that was in the United States, and it only included military personnel. If you were to include, you know, paramedics, firefighters, all these different types of people, and Canadians, that number goes quite a bit higher. So it's a number that we shouldn't have that high at all. And I wanted to highlight that this is a bit of an issue and wanted to address it.
Now that is a serious issue, mental health issue, and I'm going to come to that later. But tell us what inspired you really. This is a cause which is close to your heart. Do you want to talk about that cause and what exactly happened that kind of got you, yes, I have to do this?
Yeah, I was compelled to do this. I don't even know where the idea really came from. It came out of the sky. I was dealing with my own mental health issues. I've been law enforcement officer for 18 years, and I've struggled with my own mental health, anxiety, depression, and you know, in our community, these things aren't talked about so much. So I didn't really know what was going on with me, and then I started going through some personal issues, family issues, and it really got quite bad for me in the sense of I was having a lot of difficulty in being able to manage my own life. So, you know, I ended up meeting some people, and I got some help myself, and you know, through that process, I thought, I'm kind of an athlete. I like to work out, and I thought, you know what, let me give back to the community the best way I know how, and that's why I started doing all this.
वंडरफुल. मैं हमारे श्रोताओं को ये भी बताना चाहती हूँ, मैं पहले भी मैं मेंशन कर ही चुकी हूँ, सचिन इज़ अ कैनेडियन बॉर्डर सर्विसेज एजेंसी ऑफिसर एंड मैराथन रनर, एथलीट भी हैं, जैसे कि इन्होंने खुद ही जिक्र किया है इस बात का. While doing this kind of a job of this nature, is it very stressful mentally? Like, do you have to deal with a lot of issues and you have to be on your toes all the time? And how do you deal with that?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think most of the time, and look, I can only speak for myself. I can't speak for everyone. But having said that, I think for me, I knew what I was getting into when I came into law enforcement. So it wasn't so much of experiencing these types of things, but it was more of structural and organizational issues and more personal things that were affecting me rather than the actual job itself.
Okay.
So yeah, but to say high stress, yeah, I mean, some people might think so. It's all relative, though.
Sure. And Sachin, talking about mental health issues, now this is a very sensitive subject. A lot of people are hesitant to talk about it. A lot of people are sometimes not even aware of what goes inside a person when they are struggling with mental health issues. And it is dealt with very superficially, even today in our societies. How do you create more awareness? One thing you're doing, and that is to run marathon, and for a very just cause, a cause for which the donations will go towards a certain
society.
Yes, and for a personal cause as well. However, besides that, how do you create awareness? Like, you know, they say aam janta, like people who are in the society who are not so aware of this and who probably don't even want to talk about it. How do we create that kind of awareness at grassroots level?
That's a great question. I'm kind of trying to figure that out as I'm going along here. I'm doing these 22 marathons, and again, that does help raise some awareness, but from my perspective, it's not enough. And so next year I'll be doing something similar, probably a little bit bigger, and then ultimately in 2025 I'm running across Canada.
Right.
And the whole goal is to figure out through this process how to get this reach, you know, going onto radio stations, doing podcasts, talking about these things. Also connecting with the community at a high level. Look, I suspect if we were to ask anyone in Canada, doesn't matter which community you're from, if you were to ask them who Terry Fox is, I'm pretty sure everyone knows.
Absolutely.
And I'm pretty sure everyone knows what he did for a lot of people. And I'm not comparing myself at all to him at all. I'm not even one fraction of a person like him. But, you know, if we can emulate someone who inspired many people,
True.
you know, there's you know, the blueprint's already been created for cancer research. You know, since he passed away, been 40 years, and $1 billion in research for cancer has been raised since he's been dead. So if we can do 1% of that, you know, travel across the country, speak to people, do these different things, run across Canada, all these types of things, connecting with companies, organizations. I think it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. And, you know, I've committed myself to the rest of my life to figure out how to do it. So we'll figure it out.
Wonderful. Is there somebody who has actually inspired you to do this?
It's a great question again. No one's inspired me to do this, but there have been people that have helped me figure out how to do it better.
Okay.
And in terms of training and things like that. So I was struggling a great deal a few years ago And I didn't really have too many people around me that were capable of helping me. And I was reaching out various different places, and I met a man, a veteran himself, a retired man, older fella, and you know, I met with him and had conversations with him, and through that process, you know, he helped and inspired and motivated to a certain degree to get me to where I'm at now. And you know, his name's Sean Taylor, and he was very helpful to get me to the stage I'm at now.
Tell us about your family, Sachin. I'm quite intrigued to know about that. You have family history of services, and your family actually served with the British Empire. I really want to know more about that. So,
Yeah.
does the streak come from there?
You know, to be fair, I think I'm 45 now, and you know, if you would have asked me 10 years ago, I probably would have said no. But now that I'm at the age I'm at now, I've reflected a lot on my life, and the reality is, absolutely, it does. My dad, he never served, but my daya served, my grandfather served, my great-grandfather served, my great-uncle served, and a whole bunch of other family members have served either in the British Indian Army, in the Indian Army, or in police. So, you know, I've heard these stories most of my life, and I've heard stories of various different activists, you know, Udham Singh, Bhagat Singh, people like this, and you know, stories from my grandfather and my great-grandfather. You know, my great-grandfather served in the British Indian Army. He was second lieutenant. You know, back then was a big deal. And then my grandfather's older brother, he also served, and he was instrumental in creating military intelligence in India. So, you know, I come from a line of warriors and people that have served, and I'm a Sikh, right? And what do Sikhs do? Sikhs provide seva.
Yes.
And seva is providing support and help to people and not expecting anything in return. So I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do.
Oh, how sweet, wonderful. And before we wrap up the interview, I am going to ask you a quick question on, I checked out your website, and you have some great tips over there, and I was really inspired by your workout routine. Some of the pictures I was sharing with our listeners are like, wow, he can do that. I also liked your tattoo, if I may mention. It's a very interesting tattoo with the Canadian and Indian flag. Yeah. So that also is a representation of the community that you are serving through your marathons. And my quick question to you is, there are so many questions actually, but yeah, the first one would be, please give our listeners some quick health tips for weight loss, or people who are actually dealing with consistency and mental health issues themselves.
Yeah, sure. I mean, those are a lot of different questions, and you know, probably a lot of different answers, but fundamentally I think it comes down to, for me, what I did to kind of get myself back on track was I just wanted to understand what kind of person I wanted to be. So figure out your purpose in life. Why are you here? Why are you even alive? Number one. Number two, then figure out how you're going to do the thing that you want to do. So it's simple just to say, you know, I want to lose weight. Well, okay, let's say we're talking to a 45-year-old man, same age as me, and he has 2 kids. Well, if you're not going to be healthy for yourself, maybe you can do it for the team, i.e. your kids. Think about the people that are watching you. You know, you should lead by example. Instead of, you know, eating things that might make you unhealthy, perhaps eat some things so your children can learn how to be a healthier, productive member of society. So I think, you know, fundamentally, try to not think of yourself, how do I need to lose weight? How do I become a better person for the people around me? And that's kind of what I've been doing.
Wow. And your ultimate goal, what are your future plans?
So I've planned out my entire life in a 5-year
Wow.
span, which started in 2020. So 2025, I don't know what I'm going to be doing after that, because in 2025 I'm training to break the record for the fastest run all across Canada. So that's 7,300 kilometers, and the goal is to run that in 66 days. So, you know, I'm kind of all in there thinking about that, and you know, I just want to do my best, and whatever happens after that, let it happen. I'm not planning too much in the future. I just want to do my best and serve the community the best way I know how, and then see what happens.
Thank you very much, Sachin. Truly inspirational. Sachin Latti ji, इनसे हम इन कॉन्वर्सेशन मिड डे शो विद रश्मि इस कार्यक्रम में। और 22 मैराथन्स 22 दिनों में, बस अभी कुछ ही दिनों में जो है सचिन जी अपना मैराथन का सफ़र शुरू करने ही वाले हैं। एंड हियर्स विशिंग यू ऑल द बेस्ट। माय रेडियो 5 टीम की टीम की तरफ से, मेरी तरफ से आपको बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं सचिन जी। ऑल द बेस्ट एंड यस, वी आर रूटिंग फॉर यू। रॉक इट।
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thanks for your
Appreciate
time.
you all. Thank you.
All right, bye bye.